In Nigeria, the appeal court today set aside the ruling of an FCT High Court, which Donald Duke from parading himself as the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party SDP, or the Freeman panel led by Justice Abdullah Boki, held that the application is illegal and unconstitutional, which ought not to have been entertained by the lower court. Well, the court held that the position of the former Minister of Information, Professor Jerry Gana, in Section 18 of the party's amended constitution contravenes the Electoral Act stipulation for the validity of a candidate in any election. Well, joining me now from our Abuja studio to shed more light on this victory, if you like, is Donald Duke, the SDP, now the SDP presidential candidate, according to the courts. Glad to have you join me, Donald. Interesting. What was your reaction when you had the judgment of the appellate court?
Thank you, Indy. It's almost like a Pyrrhic victory, you know. We've gone through a very unnecessary process that we ought not to have started in the first place. We have an overwhelming task ahead of us, trying to galvanize our party and portray ourselves as a viable alternative to the two behemoths that are contesting now, and that we're almost certain will not move this nation anywhere. So wasting time in court over a non-issue, as it were, is not what I would consider a victory. Rather, I'd like to reach out to Professor Gana. Let's bury the hatchet. Being head of the team is not what matters. What matters is having a viable team to work with, and I would like him to be a member of the team. I hope he would reciprocate this gesture.
Now, good. You've touched a very key point here. The period between his being announced as the candidate of your party and now that it's been overturned, there must have been a divide, you know, between people who support you, people who support him. How are you going to be able to handle this? And then, of course, your party has lost ground with, of course, the things that had to do with the court.
Absolutely. I believe that we are both leaders of our party and leaders of our divides. So if we, the leaders, come together, the divides will bridge and come together too. So I'm reaching out to him. I reached out to him when I won the primaries in October, and I'm reaching out to him again. But that's not, that I'm sure we can heal, because this is a party that is anxious to make its mark and move forward. What we need to do is right now connect with the electorate, appeal to them, market ourselves and portray ourselves as a viable alternative to either the APC or the PDP. And for that, we can't go with a divided house. We need to come together to achieve it. We don't have time. I'm very appreciative of the little time left for us to crisscross the nation and make this point. But I think we can make the point. We're not neophytes in the political arena. We're well known. It's just to come out and enable the public see us as a serious alternative. And I'm sure the vast majority of Nigerians are seeking an alternative to what we're having, because neither side is satisfied with, and we all know we can do better than we're doing today.
Exactly. You just said you don't have time. That is the truth. You don't have time. How do you then sell yourself to the electorate, seeing that you had these squabbles that you didn't seem to handle particularly well? I mean, the party, I'm not talking about you particularly. So what's going to be your selling point? What are you going to tell the electorate, you know, within this short time that will make them believe you?
Well, there's a multiplicity of media that we can work with. We can work with all media types: outdoor, electronic, print, social media. We've just got to do so much in such a short time. We all come with a resume. We're not, like I said earlier on, we're not neophytes in the political sphere. We're known. Right now, they just want to know, the public just wants to know that you have a viable vehicle upon which to run on. The other two major parties, I mean, you could see what happened at the debates, where they were contemptuous of the Nigerian population. The presidential debate is a forum where you market yourself and your party. the APC and the PDP virtually absconded. It was as if the rest of the country doesn't matter. It was just about both of them. And this is what the arrogance, the sheer arrogance of these two candidates and their parties, of course, leaves much to be desired. I hope we can connect with the electorate within this short time and make a difference, because I shudder to think of what will happen in this country in the next couple of years. I reminded an audience not too long ago that in 1979, when President Shagari was in charge, which was barely 40 years ago, the budget he spent at that time, when our population was barely 75 million, is more than we're spending today, 40 years after, when our population is 200 million. Shagari's budget was 25 billion annually. Ours is currently 23.8 billion annually. And the population has more than doubled. The value of the currency is reduced. Now you think about it, if you extrapolate from where we are today, in the next couple of years, where will we be? In another 30 years, we'll be the third most populous nation on earth with 400 million people. If we cannot manage ourselves with 200, I wonder what it will be like when we're 400. And this is the challenge that we face as a nation.
All right. You said you were going to reach out to Professor Jerry Ghana. Supposing you reach out to him and he doesn't play ball, what will be your next line of action? And then again, this is not the last stop when you talk about going to court. Supposing he takes it further.
Well, before now, we had a meeting which I made a pledge in the presence of the national chairman and party leaders that regardless of the outcome at this stage, I would support whoever emerges. If it was Jerry Ghana that emerged as victorious in the Court of Appeal, I'll work with him. Indeed, I said I would like to be his chair leader. I also asked him to reciprocate this gesture. He did not. I do hope that with further appeal, he'll reconsider his stance. It's not going to help us. It's neither going to help him, nor the party, nor the nation. So I hope he would heal quickly, because a loss is a loss, it's painful, and move forward. Like I said, being head of a team is not as important as having a viable team. We need to have a viable team, a party as it were. And who leads it is not that important. The captain is not important. If you can be a captain of a losing team, you're not worth your salt. So we need to see that in that context. I hope that we'll bring this entire process to an end, because we're ridiculing our party and the political process, as it were.
All right, let me let you speak a little bit more of what your program will be if you get the opportunity to be the president of Nigeria. What your program, your party's program will be. What are you telling the electorate that you're going to do to better what they have had over the years?
Well, social welfare is critical. Our nation is laboring under poverty. You have the largest concentration of poor people in the world in Nigeria. That's a very sad statement to make. So critically, we need to create an environment that provides opportunities for a vast number of Nigerians. We need to create jobs, and viable jobs, so that they can earn a living. I would like to postulate that let's build a nation where nobody can fall below the cracks. So we have a ceiling whereby, or a bottom line whereby nobody can fall below that in terms of poverty level. You can be as wealthy as you can be, but you're not allowed or afforded to be as poor as can be. You see, we're as strong as the weakest link we have. All the other problems we have, whether it's security, corruption, all sorts of things, it's all tied up. These are symptoms tied up to the major problem being poverty. It is poverty that creates a nation where we don't see ourselves as stakeholders, and therefore we can take arms against ourselves. It's poverty that breeds corruption. It's poverty that enables us to have a nation that is really not getting its act together. So what would I try to do? We're going to try and build an economy. We're going to look at those things that inhibit the growth of our economy. Our economy is very, very small. I gave you an example that President Shagari's budget in 1979 is larger than our budget in 2019, 40 years after. what are the things that inhibit growth? Availability of credit. Credit is hardly available and it's too expensive. You can't grow an economy with 25 to 30% interest rates. It doesn't happen. This is a nation that is more of an energy nation, but is energy deficient. We are flaring 2.5 billion cubic feet of gas, which is about 25 million liters of diesel daily. We need to find a way of capturing all this gas, distributing it throughout the country, and let affordable or available or cheap energy be our subsidy to growth. If you take just those two ticket items, you can put this nation on a springboard towards growth. And this is what we ought to do. Then we look at the other policies that inhibit our growth. If you have affordable credit, if you have available energy, if you invest in skills development, which is something we're not doing at all, you need to invest heavily in education. I'll give you an example which shows how warped our priorities are. We spend more money subsidizing fuel, subsidizing PMS and gasoline for cars than we do on education. We spend more money subsidizing fuel for cars to ride on the roads than we spend in fixing the roads or building roads. So it shows that our psyche is warped somewhere. We spend more money on health, on fuel subsidy than on health. We spend more money on fuel subsidy than education. I agree that we need to subsidize something because cost of living is difficult, but subsidize what you have, not what you import. So you have gas that you're flaring. Maybe we should subsidize that. The interesting thing is that we still sell gas for local consumption at international prices, right? Rather than sell gas, which is something that you're flaring and which is something you can subsidize. But the thing that you import, which is PMS and gasoline, you're subsidizing that. That doesn't make economic sense to me.
All right, former governor of Cross River State, Donald Duke, now the presidential candidate of the SDP. Wish you the best of luck. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you indeed. Thank you.